в облака, как мечталось давно. Путь дорога Париж, с помощью Божией всю планету Земля обнимает Skyway. Мир Skyway объединит людей. Мир Skyway объединит людей. Через годы и мгновенья, бесконечность к поколениям, не прервется нить.
Humanity is on the civilizational technogenic fork at the moment, from where two further development directions are available. Scenario number 1. The Earth's civilization continues to rapidly develop its technogenic vector that became industrial 2 centuries ago. It is limited only by the size and resources of the planet. At the same time, resources consumption stays constant since the world economy relies on the outdated and resource-intensive technologies. For example, transport and logistics services, being one of the fundamental elements of the economy, are using century-old technologies. At the same time, the main resources which are wastefully consuming and destroying by the technocrat man to please the techno-consumer man. First, air-based oxygen.
Second,
the surface area of the Earth in square meters, where green plants can grow, producing oxygen and utilizing atmospheric CO2. Third, humus, live fertile soil. Fourth, the soil that lies under the fertile soil. The excessive and ever-increasing consumption of these resources is the root of all global problems. In the 21st century, our civilization can be put to the last point in an experiment that has been continuing on Earth for thousands of years, similar to the experience in a petri dish, however not in a local, but in planetary ecosystem. Mode inevitably dies in a short time after eating up limited resources and polluting the entire space with waste products. The main reason is that there is no cycling of matter, energy and information in the dish, and there are no trophic food chains when one species of living organisms feeds on other species and their waste. It is a result of these processes that have been going on continuously on the planet for billions of years of evolution that the main biosphere waste, humus and oxygen, is formed. A dead petri dish returns to its original dead state, according to the second law of thermodynamics, the increase in entropy of any closed system.
Сценарий номер 2.
Scenario number 2. Reloading of technosphere. Earth engineers are finding solutions to provide the Earth's industry with an access to the unlimited resources of the outer space. These resources include infinite space, matter, and energy, as well as the new technological conditions: weightlessness, deep vacuum, and cosmic radiation. At the same time, inefficient existing transport and infrastructure technologies that additionally pose the greatest threat to the biosphere should be replaced by more advanced transportation means. Solutions for terrestrial conditions. First of all, it is the Unitsky string transport, UST, which has the maximum characteristics allowed by physics in terms of efficiency, economy, environmental friendliness, safety, resource intensity, etc., will fully supply the annually growing transport needs of humanity. During the 21st century, almost all transport will be moved to the second level with respect to the ground, leaving the ground surface to the nature and people. Freight roads will enable a low-cost transportation mode to currently inaccessible mineral resources located, for example, in high mountains, tundra, eternal frost. Cargo passengers train railroads will allow to create an extensive, about 25 million kilometers long, global network of transport and infrastructure communications Transnet. Transnet will combine transportation network with energy and information networks. In comparison with the known types of roads built above the ground in the form of overpasses, high-speed railways and magnetic levitation trains, the savings of basic construction and structural materials will reach up to 250 billion tons of steel and rolled steel, and about 3 trillion tons of reinforced concrete. Such an efficient use of resources will prevent the extraction, relocation, and processing of more than 3 trillion tons of various exhaustible minerals. As a result of saving of resources, about 1 trillion tons of environmentally hazardous and carcinogenic substances will not be transformed into solid and gaseous wastes. The volume of earthworks will be reduced by more than 100 times. Consequently, the natural landscape and biocenosis will not be significantly damaged, and land reclamation will not be required. Thanks to its safety, inherent in the basis of technology, this technology will save about 100 million people from the death in car accidents in the 21st century, and about 1 billion people will be saved from injuries and traumas, while string roads will not kill trillions of large and small animals that do not trap under the wheels of the second-level transport. An unprecedented energy efficiency of Unitsky string transport rolling stock will allow to save about 40 billion tons of the fuel. Approximately 140 billion tons of oxygen will not be burned out of the planet's atmosphere every year. Almost 200 billion tons of exhaust and flue gases will not be released to the atmosphere. This is real, not declarative, resource saving in the 21st century. The cost of saved resources can be estimated as about $1,000 trillion. By the time the world's transport and communication network of the new generation is completed, about 10 billion people will be living on the planet. Unitsky string transport will allow to organize people's settlements in a fundamentally new logic of linear cities. In order to ensure a comfortable and rational settlement of residents, the network of such settlements should have a total length of about 10 million kilometers, covering an area of about 10 million square kilometers, or 1/15 of the Earth's land area. This means that 14/15 of the land, as well as all the oceans and seas, can be provided for the national parks and nature reservation zones. Linear cities will be made in the forms of a single story and low-rise clusters with areas of about 100 to 500 hectares each. They are designed to accommodate from 1 to 5,000 residents. The average speed in long trips along a linear city will be 400 to 500 kilometers per hour. Therefore, within a comfortable 30-minute time period, it will be possible to travel for 200 to 250 kilometers. Residential and industrial buildings will be built using frame-type structures with vacuum glass panels. An external vacuum panel with a thickness of 20 millimeters is equivalent in its thermal insulation properties to a brick wall with a thickness of 1.5 meters. Principally new solar energetics will be created in linear cities. It will use the mineral wealth of the ancient humus and the energy of the ancient sun accumulated by the plants during the Mesozoic and Cenozoic and today preserved in coal and shale, which those ancient plants turned into. Power plants will operate on brown coal and shale, available resources of which on the planet is enough for at least 10,000 years. All wastes from the coal-burning process, including flue gases, sludge, slag, ash, etc., will be mixed with the coal that has not participated in the combustion. And with the help of specially selected communities of microorganisms, the mixture will be converted into insoluble compounds, that is, inralic humus, the mass production of which will help significantly increase the fertility of the earth. Excessive carbon dioxide from the relict solar power plants will be sent to the greenhouses in cold regions of the world or orangeries in tropical regions.
Это в разы.
Heat, which is about 50% of the energy of coal combustion, will be used for the specific needs of a cluster within linear cities, as well as for heating greenhouses in cold climates.
И страны. Ночной избыток
The nighttime excessive electricity will be used for additional lighting of greenhouses and orangeries. The entire land area of Earth can be made fertile by natural, not technogenic methods without the use of chemical fertilizers and pesticides. 1,000-kilometer-long Equatorial Linear City, ELC, will become the backbone of the Transnet network. Largest portion of it will go across the oceans. About 100 million people, 1% of the world's population, will live and work here. Along the Equatorial Linear City, at a safe distance, there will be a takeoff and landing overpass of the general planetary vehicle, the link between Earth civilization and the growing space industry.
Только геокосмическую
Only geocosmic cargo traffic will determine the pace of development of the space industry for the benefit of the earthly civilization living in its historic home on planet Earth. At the same time, in the future, the annual per capita consumption of industrial products should be commensurate with the ergonomics of a person. This means that for 10 billion people, this will be at least 100 million tons of space products per year, or at least 10 kilograms per inhabitant of the planet. In the first years of GPV operation, presumably 2040, 2045, about 100 million tons of equipment, structures and materials will be delivered to the near space from the Earth, sufficient to create within the equatorial orbits at an altitude of 300 to 500 kilometers the space industrial necklace, orbita. SIN orbita will be a transport, infrastructure, industrial and residential complex that surrounds the planet in the equator plane at an altitude of several hundred kilometers, with the length of more than 42,000 kilometers for the 400 kilometers highness. Externally, the space complex will look like a necklace of cargo and passenger modules delivered to the orbit, being spaced at about 500 meters, connected to each other by threads, string orbital roads, as well as energy and information communications. Around the modules, as around catalysts, crystals will eventually grow. Factories, workshops, power plants, and other industrial and residential buildings. During the 21st century, the main part of the Earth's industry will be removed from the planet to be further recreated in the near space on circular equatorial orbits in the space technological environment. Along with this, there will be a reboot of our technogenic civilization into a new logic. Earth is for life, space is for industry.
Земля для жизни, космос для индустрии. Для реализации плана
To implement this plan, $5 trillion of investment annually will be sufficient, which is half of what is currently planned to be invested in the resource revolution and the salvation of the world economy by the apologists of conservation of the industrial way of our civilization development. Such an amount of investments will be more than enough for an alternative scenario to complete the reboot of our technogenic civilization to the space vector of development by the end of the 21st century and make a real, not virtual, resource revolution.
реальную, а не виртуальную ресурсную революцию. Основная часть
The main parts of the technosphere will be located in the outer space, while the remaining terrestrial industries will include agriculture, medical, Earth's environmentally friendly transport and infrastructures, environmentally friendly constructions and pedestrian linear cities, as well as individual, environmentally friendly structural elements of the general planetary energy generation engineering, communications, and mechanical engineering. The anthropogenic biota will be created on 1/15th of land, or 1/60th of the planet's surface, and the natural biota will be preserved on the rest of the land, 14/15th of land. This will ensure the natural biological regulation of the environment that existed in the pre-industrial era. Transfer of the industry into space will open up access to inexhaustible mineral resources in the solar system, in particular, to heavy metals that have very limited presence on Earth. For example, the asteroid Psyche, with a size of 250 kilometers and a mass of about 1,018 tons, consists of 90% iron and nickel. In addition, the total reserves of gold and platinum group metals in the Psyche rocks are 110 billion tons, which currently has a minimum value of $1,018 million trillion.
более понятный язык, это миллион триллионов долларов. Миллион триллионов долларов. А стоимость железа...
And the cost of iron and nickel in this asteroid is much higher.
Кроме того, космическая...
The cosmic industrial necklace of the planet will become a fundamental element of the protection system from the space threats, including meteorite, and the platform for the expansion into deep space. And finally, the most important thing,
Земная
the
цивилизация...
terrestrial civilization, going beyond the limits of the biosphere petri dish, will be able to develop steadily for an unlimited time in the space of the infinite universe.
Спасибо за внимание.